So this is a series of training sessions with Burklerk Pinsinchai. This is him in the red. Back in the day, he has one of the most winning records of any Thai fighter from the Golden Age. That is his amazing speed. He's fighting against Parahatlek, who was also one of the top fighters. This is like a master against master, and that leg kick out is like his signature move. So this training session is about a year ago, and Burklerk is showing me the way to kick out the leg. So see how he ducks in and protects himself with that outstretched arm? And so you'll hear him counting, and the reason Ajahn is counting is because he's saying you block the kick or take the kick first in order to set up for this leg kick out. You don't do it on the first one. So he just gets out of the way of that one, like takes some of the pressure off, and then he dives in. But I've consistently had a hard time getting low enough on that standing leg. You really kick basically down by the ankle and use like the instep of your the front of your foot to kind of like hook the standing leg. But it's really low. It's almost on like the Achilles tendon on the back. Oh. And then look at how his body bends as he like jumps across and dives in to kick out that leg. It's such, he just cuts across. And you can also just teep someone. So what I'm saying there is that if you kick once and he moves out of the way or blocks, you naturally make the second one harder. Like you're going to redouble your efforts, and that's the one that you kick the leg out on. And so here Ajahn is just showing different ways that you can deal with that kick. So there he caught it and then kicked back on my open side. So here I'm asking him about the hook on the leg a little bit. So he's southpaw, if you notice. He's not a left-handed fighter, but he puts himself southpaw for this kick. You do this when someone's kicking you left, whether they're orthodox or not, if you're going to go in this direction. So here he's showing me. See how he hooks around the back of my foot? You can't put the back of your leg on the back of someone else's leg. That's an illegal hook. But you can put the front of your foot on the back of someone's foot and hook it. See how he goes around? And then that beautiful motion with his leg and foot. Oh. Look at how he comes across. There, so I pulled on his leg a little bit and he's like, yes, that's the feeling right there. And then my right arm coming across, I want to kind of bar his chest. So putting my hand on his chest like that not only protects me from any of his counters, but it also helps off balance him. And here he's showing how you pivot as he's kicking. That's you just getting out of the way of the kick, basically. And he wants my left hand in his face as part of the guard. And then you can do that kick off of it. So there he's working on the timing. I have difficulty on these pivots because I always step too wide instead of staying close to someone. So watch how he steps and stays close to me. It's like he kind of makes a V on the pivot, whereas I kind of satellite out a little bit, which makes things harder for me, especially because I'm already small. Oh. See how he just cuts right into me, like he steps into my kick almost? Ugh. His body shape is important. Look at that.
If you step out with that to do your right kick, you're kind of opening it.
So here he's showing me another option. See how he catches that and switches his stance simultaneously? That's because when you kick, you change which side your open side for attack is. So he's changing also in order to be able to attack my open side. And there he's kneeing into the top of my thigh, kind of right under my hip. It's so nasty. He's not even touching me. And there's a head kick. You can do all of these things because that side is open and you've now created a power side by changing your stance on that catch. And you notice how he's not pushing me. He stays where he is and attacks me, which means he can throw any number of these because he's not plowing. I'm not moving, and he's not moving. So he can throw any and kind of all of these if I just stand there. So see how he just gets out of the way? He just takes the power out, and there he's just moving out of the way and countering back. So his style, as the Pinsinchai style, is kind of staying in your own space and countering. Anytime he steps back, it's to immediately attack again, like a rubber band. He does not move backwards a lot. He's a very in fighter for a female style fighter. Here I'm practicing in shadow that reverse stance on catching the kick. And if you watch me, I have a really hard time actually moving back. Like I'm not fully reversing my stance the way that he does. I don't know why I have a hard time actually taking enough space behind me. But if you watch him, he has this beautiful change of stance and moves back just enough. So this is just drilling these. But something that he says many times is to change, change, change. And what he means is that you don't do the same move every time. So you block one, you low kick one, you catch one, you move out of the way of one. Like basically have variety in your counters. And here he's showing how to practice the leg kick on a bag. And it's actually brilliant to do it on a bag because you can get that arm across the chest on the other side of the bag. See how I'm touching the top? So see how he's showing me to fake on the bag and try a variety of different things, even on the bag, just working out all of your different options so that they're at the ready when you're in a situation under pressure. And there I'm shadowing the changing of stance on the caught kick, but again, I'm not actually stepping back. Even in shadow, I'm not doing it. I don't dive across quite as much as he does on that low kick, but I'm just working on timing on it here. There, the bending of my front knee is a little bit closer to what he does. So he let me work on the timing and the power on it, and now he brings it back to mapping it onto the body, moving in space. You see, I cut across on his body a little bit better than I did on the bag, kind of understanding that I have to go outside of his stance. But as I'm trying to move to the side that he's teaching me, see how I kind of satellite out? He had me put my hand on his chest as I pivot to keep me closer, and it acts as a guard, but I don't fully understand it at the time that we're doing this. So here he's showing how you get out of the way. Like that pivot that he's doing is any attack from that side. You just barely get out of the way. And it's just a pivot. It's so simple. And see how I can't track him with my knee? I kind of off-balance myself if I try to do that. That's why Yod Kun Pan has the don't lean back elbows or knees that he has, is so that you can kind of track. But here I'm trying to follow him with my knee and it's off balancing myself. And there he just parries it out of the way, going in the opposite direction. So here he wants me to try it. And so see how I kind of had to reach for his chest? That's because I satellite. My hand should already be there and I just kind of pivot. So when you're training that, put your hand on the object and pivot to keep the right distance. He's telling me right there, he's like, you just do a little bit every day. Like, you basically don't become an expert in any of this stuff right now, learning this with me in 15 minutes. Saying you train it every day. It's getting it into your body, which is a sentiment that pretty much every legend I've worked with has reiterated to me, because they've done this for years. But even just working with him over and over in this repetition, I'm becoming more relaxed in all of these movements. And there he wants me to throw in more variety, so he's starting to give me more options. He liked me choosing that one. So I'm explaining to him that in a fight I had recently with Fa Cheng Rai, she was controlling my right arm. So he's showing how to swim inside. It's pretty easy to lock out someone's arm doing what I'm doing. So I'm asking him how to solve this, but see how he pulls his entire body to the side so that my locking of his arm actually ends up being something that I have to follow instead of me locking him out only. And so here he's going to show me how to like step out a little bit. See how I have double control on the insides of his arms? He's showing how to control the arms. You want to get inside position. And then as someone is swimming, see how he just pushed my head to the same side because I was swimming? I was busy with my arms, so he just had me go in the same direction I was already going in to try to get inside position. It's kind of like an Aikido move. And look at his footwork, how he's sliding from side to side just to balance himself.
You step back with the same foot, Sylvie.
So he's really symmetrical. I'm pulling my hips back, which you don't have to do. He's in a like horse stance and moving from side to side in this very balanced manner. But there, he wants me to take a step back to create space so that I can throw that knee. So even if you're locked up, see how he's struggling against my double inside position? He's like, quit struggling against that, you can't get in. Instead, look what he does. Takes a step back and just wiggles his hand in. Locked, then in. He basically is like using his finger. That's how much power he's using, and yet so easy for him to move me. So he's saying even if I'm strong and I'm locking his arms, all he has to do is take a step back. It's this huge secret of clinching that stepping back and dragging back is a huge advantage. So here I'm asking him, when you take that space, it's very small. Nitnoi means a little bit. So you don't like go running backwards. You just take a slight step back with the intention of coming straight back in with power. And here he's showing me basically how to use strong arms as a guard to control the arms. He's from the Pinsinchai gym, and I worked with Thailand Pinsinchai, who's significantly younger than Burklerk, but from the same gym. And he showed me that same thing with the arms in clinch. How you kind of like banana peel down and use your weight to manipulate someone's arms without using a lot of strength. See how he just, his block He punched the underside of my arm. It actually really hurts. And he just has firm arms. They're not tight, they're not tense. They're just firm, and he's using them as a frame to control my arms as I'm trying to come in. That right there is like the peel. There's taking that little bit of space so that I can swim in.
Take a small step out, but immediately come back in. It's not like
So it's like a slingshot or like a rubber band. A little bit out and then straight back in. He's like, if you just try to throw a punch from an awkward distance, it's no power. If you take a slight step back and then the step back in, you double your power. So there, he's using me trying to knee him and then pushing on my neck on the same side as the side I'm kneeing, like that, to off balance. But you have to change, you have to swing your foot back. You don't use power of your upper body, you actually use the power of just moving your lower body, like stepping back. And here again he's counting 1, 2. So he's basically saying that you time it. I knee, so I know he's about to knee back, and then that's when I can turn him. And see the little explosion he has on that turn with the change of his feet? And then he's just steering like a giant wheel with his upper body. And then because I brought my leg back to turn him, it's now in the reverse so that I can knee him with it. He keeps his hips more or less in because the power is coming from his hips. I'm kind of putting my butt back, which slows it down and requires more effort from my upper body, which is not correct. Here I'm trying to get the shadow on some of the stuff he just showed me. His gym is really cool. It's all like local teenagers and students and stuff from the neighborhood and from the local Assumption University. So here I'm just trying to get that pivot in the shadow, and I'm actually overturning. If you watch my foot as it lands after the turn, I'm kind of like crossing myself. So I need to have a little bit more control on that pivot. But this goes to show that even without a partner, you can work on these different techniques. But you do need to imagine someone in front of you. I'm using the pole there for that low kick. I like when he leads me around. I think he was introducing me to someone. So, interestingly, pad work with Ajahn Burklerk is pretty standard, but it's about understanding what he's trying to get out of it, which I did not a year ago. So, he just showed me all of this beautiful technique that's all about timing and distancing. And he wants me to use it in pad work, but I don't understand how to use it in pad work yet. I just wasn't cognizant of it yet. So if you watch my pad work with him here, my distance is always wrong. I'm just kind of following him. But the interesting thing, if you watch him as the pad holder and what he does with his symmetry and his feet and the distances that he's taking, that's what I should be doing as the striker. So you kind of have the model of what you should be doing in the pad holder, and then the mistakes with me hitting the pads. But he's happy with me putting a lot of power into everything. But again, his whole system is this kind of standing in space and being fortified to protect yourself at all times, and then only coming back in order to kind of slingshot back forward. So the way that I'm just kind of standing where I am, and waiting for what he's calling for. The time between things should be where my spacing and timing is. So I'm actually losing that part of it while still getting the strikes in. But see how he just stands in one spot and lets me throw all of those kicks? I should be pivoting to create a different angle. And then he's interrupting my arms, and what he wants out of that is for my arms to be creating that frame that he was doing earlier, so that you're just fortified and strong up top, like you do not take my space. Look at his movement as he's changing positions in order to open up these shots for me. I should be tracking the open side based on how he's moving. So what I mean by open side is if you look at how he's standing, my right side is able to hit his belly side. So you're constantly looking at someone's belly. And when he switches sides, like his stance changes, his open side changes. So now, right now, I should be attacking left side if I'm going to go for his belly. And here, he wants me to put my left arm up. It's like straight up so that I'm protecting that side of my face with my shoulder. And then I can pivot to the left at the same time. So he wants me to go slightly out of the way, and then that's that rubber band slingshot thing that I'm talking about. You move back in order to come back in. And I'm just leaning back, but he wants me to take this small step. Look at his footwork. He's like, do you feel the difference in the power there? If you just bend your upper body back, you have no balance and you have no power. But if you bring your hips, like the whole thing, like a water skipper, back and then slingshot, it's a lot of power. So watch his feet. See how he does these little steps and how his heel comes up when he's bringing his right side?
So instead of being off balance like this and having no power?
Yeah, don't matrix stuff. Actually bring your back foot back a little bit. It gives you greater control over both the movement back and forward. So here he's just shaping me. So at the farthest extension of my jab, my right hand should be up protecting that side of my face, and my left shoulder should be protecting my jaw on the other side. And you're kind of like curved forward and caged. It's a really strong frame so that if he walks forward, my extended left arm is basically going to push his shoulder off. It's like a bar to stop him. And so there, he does these things that I call a power check. He just says check, check. But if I put my hand against his chest and he's pushing against me, I move backwards and then slam back into him. If when I touch his chest, he stops moving forward, you shove him and then you come forward. So you basically check which direction they're going in and then adjust what you're going to do based on that. See how he puts his left arm up? He's trying to shape me now. He's trying to get me to, as he comes in, immediately create this frame to control his arms and shoulders. See how he water skips back? And there I did it really well. Very different from what I did by myself a second ago. And he wants me to kind of be shoving off of him with my forearms. It's a really fine line between tension and strength. Like, the tension in the arms is only in the places you need it in order to build that frame. It's not locking up your arms. And here he was just using the ropes to kind of spring himself, taking a slight step back and then launching himself back towards me. It's like the opposite of what Nam Kabun does. There, see how he immediately wants that frame up? That's being relaxed, but immediately able to tense up in the right parts of your arms to create that frame. So that I'm controlling the insides of his arms. See that? How I can like steer him? Turn and then elbow. But I don't have control of my feet. Like my upper body was kind of okay, but my feet are totally out of control. Watch his feet. I'm taking too many steps because I don't have the balance. I think I'm leaning to the left. And here he's just messing with me a little bit in order to kind of not check, but condition my responses. You should be very comfortable staying in that space. Like, it's okay if someone hits you, it doesn't make you shock and go backwards. Like, you keep that space in the same way that the first thing he was showing me is you just block the kick in order to get ready to go kick out that front leg. Like, it's okay to get hit. That's part of the game. His left hook, if you go back and watch the beginning of this video where it shows him fighting against Parahatlek, his left hook is unreal in the way that it works off of his right side. It's like the centrifugal force or whatever of going from one side to the other like a washing machine. I don't quite step in on my left hook the way that he does. He's asking for this step in so that you can really bring that side of your body across. Oh. So when you train with Burklerk, he doesn't really give full hour-long private sessions, so we collect them. Like, I go see him anytime I can in Lampang and just get a little bit of work in, and so we stitch them together. But what's interesting about that is that you then get to see working on some of the similar things again over time. So here he's showing how to time kind of faking a kick and teeping. So here he actually let me interrupt his kick with my teep. But this is using the teep as interruption in general. This thing I loved. So you kick right, and then they think you're going to kick right again, and you just switch your stance and shove them in the chest with your right arm. It's so badass. It feels really good to me. It fits in with how I like to move. And it goes in with his system of being very ambidextrous and switching stance. So here he's showing how that step, it's like this very controlled, firm step forward. I'm turning it into two things. I step and then I shove. When you step, your arm is a bar, and it should just interrupt him at the same time. Like, he might kind of walk into it like that more. See, he's teaching this so that I kick first and I anticipate him kicking back. But then when I switch stance and bar him, it's as he's kicking back or whatever his counter is. It's awesome. And then he wants to kick on top of it on the other side. Because you've switched stance, so now after you shove him, he's off balance and you can just nail him with whatever's from that side. So see how he keeps switching his stance as he moves back, and that changes what his open side is? This is tracking his open side with me changing my stance as I come in with my strikes as well. And then back to that kicking out the standing leg on a kick. And I'm still going a little bit too high on his leg, but my my timing and cut across is much better than in our first session because I've been working on it. So here, again, he's reiterating that he wants me to tie it into other responses to being kicked. This is not the only thing you do. See how he moves his body to the side to take out the impact of that kick? Just enough. He's caught my kick, so he just shoves my neck a little bit and threw me down pretty easily. See how he steps in with his foot in order to deliver that right cross? That's so awesome. So when you catch the kick, you basically grab the outside of the knee and peel it down towards the ground, and it forces the person to turn. He loves this move of the knee on the thigh. It's so painful. But the thing about turning that knee is that a lot of people will turn their own knee towards the ground in order to pull the person who's caught their kick in. So if you turn the knee for them as you pivot out, they go flying to the floor instead of being able to grab you. But you have to do that pivot. And see how tight his arm is when he shadows it? You lock that leg tight. It's actually really painful as the person who has your leg caught. It's a pretty typical block for when people are coming in to try to knee you. And that's the way to knock them down when they try to knee you. So you put your knee underneath their knee, right? So like on their hamstring. And look at him do it in shadow. So you knee, and he's doing the opposite where he just pulls my neck to the side. But I was confused in that I thought that your leg does a lot. Like I thought that you had to push up on their knee with your knee, but you don't. You just pin it and shove them. This is almost a Superman, but not. You throw the kick in order to bring that right cross in, but then he wants you to kick on top of it as well. You like that one? He said not only one. So you don't fake the kick just to deliver a right cross. You do that to deliver the right cross and then also kick them. See? Something else on top of it. So pretty. So here, off of the caught kick, these are a variation of the different things you can do after catching someone's kick. There's that switch stance again. Look how beautiful he is when he switches his stance. And look at how his left leg comes behind him but out to the side. Like you don't want to go straight back. Oh, so pretty. And then you can see how much power he has because of that switch stance to just attack that open side. So see, he's showing me how to get that small step to the side to take the impact out of the kick. So he wants me to switch stance. Switch. See how I don't switch with the depth that he does? Slightly better. But he likes the immediacy with which I'm attacking back there. Because I'm not switching my stance deep enough, my balance is not fantastic. And there he's showing how when you're playing this game of like catching each other's legs, you always want to be the last one. So he spun me so that I could not catch him when he kicked me back. But that's again what he's always talking about, of having variety in what you're doing. See that spin? It's because his hip is out of the way of my foot. If he was catching it on the side of his body, I would be caught on his body. You have to get your hips back to spin like that. So this one, because we've worked on some of this stuff before and I've worked on it since seeing him, we're moving through stuff a lot faster. So it's a little bit of a review. So here he wants me to change. He wants me to step back, and I don't understand. So there, he's being the Dern fighter, the one who's just walking forward. And see how I switch stance and just kind of bar him and stop him? It's looking for that response. He said when they're on one foot, they can't control themselves. So basically, as he's coming forward, I want to time it for when he's on one foot. He's showing the timing. He's showing how you know where your opponent's going to be because everyone moves forward and backward the same way. And you just time it for when they're on one foot. So back. So see how his open side changed as he's doing that? And I can counter on his open side. And there he switched his own stance to match my open side so that he could attack it. So kick the heads, KO. So look at how he actually turns a little bit to the side even as he's changing his stance, so that my foot gets caught on his back rather than into his ribs. You don't want to take the full impact of a kick on your side like that to catch it.
Everything is timing.
Which means relaxation.
So you can't be tense and time things. You have to relax in order to have good timing. And there I'm trying to get the immediate rebound off of that caught kick. So you step back and immediately spring. So here's going back to pad work, which there's been some time between the last one and this one. And immediately I can see that the understanding of what his pad work is about spacing and changing position is landing on me a little bit better than it did in that first one. So the way I'm taking up space and not giving up space when he comes towards me is a much better understanding of what it is he's asking for. You can see I'm responding to all of his movements, not only what he's calling for. And so here he's just making small corrections about how I move back and then strike, which I wasn't able to do in our first session at all. And my upper body is a little bit more prepared for this kind of framing and blocking that he was asking for in the first one. And he's changing angle more than he was the first time in order to give me opportunities to kind of track him but stay in my own space. And when he hits me and I block, he wants an immediate counter. So one block and then change position. Don't stay where you are. There. My hair tie broke, so I had to look like a crazy person for the rest of the round. But here again, see how he's constantly changing angles and stance. He wants me to mirror that, like not in the way of imitating him, but matching his open side all the time. It's a way of tracking. It's better. My block is coming up better in response. So now he's just kind of teasing me to get me to counter on top of counters faster. So you're like always ready to snap back. Here he just wants power. He's excited. So go fix my hair. Come back to it. So again, you see the width of my stance is different from our first session. And the width is helping me to be able to stay in my space and kind of move forward and back with more definitive purpose. If your feet are really close together, you end up kind of like stumbling the way I did just there on my way in. And you'll see his stance is really wide and really symmetrical. But so while my spacing is better than it was in the first one, I'm still not tracking his open side consciously. But when he changes his position, I'm changing my position pretty quickly, even though I'm not understanding why. Like that. So there, see how I took a step back for kind of no reason? The step was fine to get out of the way, but you should immediately be springing back. There, he hit me on the back of the head. He's proud of himself. So there I'm staying in better, but again, there's that step back with no spring back, like it's pulling a rubber band without snapping it again. So if my upper body were able to create that frame faster and more confidently, I think I'd be able to stay in and have that bend back, spring in thing that he's looking for. And then again, satelliting out a little bit as I'm trying to pivot. I should be staying closer to him. And here he'll show me exactly why. So I'm pivoting to the side and then able to throw that upward elbow if you stay close enough. My hand is coming out too far from my head. That's why those elbows are a little bit wonky. You need to kind of slick your hair back, like run your hand behind your ear. Just messing with my reaction time. This is good though, when your pad holder starts getting excited and riffing on things like this. It's good because it means that you're creating the right energy for the scenario. You kind of like waken up an ex-fighter's fight energy. It's really good.
You like that?
So in shadow, I stay closer. It's when I have a body in front of me that I do that satellite thing. So here, he wants the jab to come like right on the mouth. He says that if you hit someone right on the mouth, it doesn't have to be super hard. It just stuns them. Look at his explosive movements forward on that jab. And then he just has that light tap on the inside of the thigh. It doesn't feel light. It stings really badly, but it's like a slap. And so he's basically interrupting the opponent's own setup and posting by just tagging with his front side. So the jab or kicking the inside of the front leg, that's all front side attack that like sets up for a power shot. But it's messing with my spacing and timing. He's saying it doesn't have to be a lot of power. You just want to really step in and hit right on the mouth. See how he brings his whole body when he does that jab? It reminded me of Ramba. Ramba does these stings on the inside of the leg. It makes you basically constantly reset. It's very frustrating. So here, just working on that in shadow. And I'm trying to do that like step back attack, but I'm not super deliberate in those steps yet. It's just a process of getting accustomed to it.
He fakes with the body, but you have to turn.
So just trying to add in that variety that I've been talking about in terms of what Ajahn Burklerk is always asking for. And that's the catching of the kick and then trying to kick the head. I was a little bit too close to the mirror. So I'm trying to get a really high rainbow angle on that in order to get to the head. So there's just throwing in the different things that we've worked on. You can riff around with any of this stuff in the gym. This is one of Ajahn's pad holders. I've never worked with him before, so it's kind of fun to feel the difference. But we ended up working on this really beautiful clinch knee. Ajahn Burklerk has an amazing clinch position. He puts his front leg right between your legs and can't be thrown off of it because he's able to move it. But look at how he's hanging on him with his weight. His upper body is like pulling down the body of his opponent. Like he's hanging on it, but he's super light on his feet. And then see how he doesn't have a neutral stance? He keeps his front leg between my legs, but he's not touching either one of them. And he just pulls me over his knee. So here, I'm used to having more of a squared up stance in clinch. So I keep kind of going to that as I'm changing position. But look at what Ajahn's asking for. Again, he's hanging his upper body on this guy to kind of pull him down. And then look at his beautiful standing leg and then that right knee as it comes around. Oh, so pretty. He's so light on his feet, and I swear to God, those knees are so hard. So my version of it is pretty good. It's not as beautiful as his, but it was practical enough that I could put it together. It's kind of how you knee a bag. You can totally do it on a person, but I'm not hanging on his upper body the way Ajahn is, so I don't have the same kind of control over my opponent. If I hung on him the way that Ajahn did, I would be able to land those knees much cleaner and kind of be lighter on my feet because my weight distribution would be pulling that guy's head down.
He's like you do Baran and
That's what Andy said that he said.
yeah.
So you stay very light on your feet. So here, look at his knee, how his hip and his knee go between my legs. So I'm asking him, how do you not get thrown on this? Because I do that by overturning, and Loma just throws me all over the place. So basically, he shoves his hip and his knee so close to your body that you can barely knee or control him. But he's got balance and control so that he can move his knee out of the way if I try to tip him. See how I'm trying to get him and he's shoving towards me so I can't actually get my knee off? And then I tried to trip him with my knee and he just controlled my neck. So I'm trying to explain to him what happens when I fight Loma. Because I overturn like this and then I get thrown to the side. And watch what he does. He's like, just move your leg. See how he wants me to respond to how he's walking? If he moves his leg forward, I should move my leg backwards. It's like waltzing. But he's got a lot of weight on my upper body, so it would be hard for me to throw him because all of those throws are basically from the upper body. And then his knee is not actually touching my leg, so it's hard for me to tip him with it. But his hip being so close to me makes it really hard for me to get a knee off at all. Oh my god. You almost never get to see Adran actually do full power kicks on things because he's always delicately demoing on you. His kicks are still so fast and beautiful. So look at his upper body and how he wants me to have control as I'm changing stance. It's very symmetrical, and the upper body has that frame. Look at his step back. So I was overturning there a little bit. I don't step back far enough. And then you'll see me fall over all the time when I try to throw a controlled kick. When you're doing this kind of drill, you have to throw your kick fast enough that it's a real kick, which I don't do. So don't make it hard, but you need to throw it with the correct speed so that the trajectory is right. That's just placing my leg like that. That needs to be faster to actually be like a kick. And see how he just moves slightly out of the way there? Oh, it's so pretty how he changes his stance like that. And he's like, don't overturn. You catch the leg first and then manipulate where they're going. So I'm trying to do this on the bag, and if you look at my right leg, it stays in the middle of the bag, which is not quite right. It should be outside the bag. So this is an Italian woman who is training at Burklerk's gym, and he brought her over to work the timing on this catch and counter. And she's a beginner, so you can see that you can work with people of various different levels at the gym because it's just a drill. But he's showing me where he wants me to kick her back is just kind of on her bent arm. And so it's just the repetition, and he wants me to be relaxed. You can see the body positioning he wants me to do there with the rhythm. And then here, he's telling her that he wants the kick to be like a more natural kick. She's pulling it because she doesn't want to hurt me because it's a drill. So her knee is too bent. So like I was saying before, how you have to have like a semi-realistic kick, so you have to have the proper speed on it even if you're pulling the power. So here he just wants me to try the different things that you can do off of the caught kick to kind of, with repetition, get more accustomed to catching and responding. So now he has her doing the other side, so I don't have to switch my stance on this one, but he does want me still stepping over to the side so that I'm not taking the full impact of the kick. So now he wants me to do this stepping out of the way thing that he taught me before. So you just pivot to the side to get out of the way of the kick, and then on the second one you're going to kick out the leg. See how he just moves out of the way? And then there, when he comes in to kick out the leg, it's like going along the line of a V. Like he's very close to her body. And then look at his upper body, how it's in that frame for protection that mine is not. See how his left arm is basically in her face as he's turning. There's just getting out of the way of that. But if you keep your hand in their face, you won't satellite out. You stay at the right proximity. So for the leg kick out, you generally want someone to be kicking left if you're training this side. That's how Ajahn Burklerk does it. And in that fight at the very beginning of this video with Parhat Lek is southpaw, so he kicks left a lot. So if you're going against a southpaw fighter, this one is one you can do pretty easily on a power kick, but there are orthodox fighters who kick left at times. So there he's saying that when the kick is hard, and they're really committed to it, it's much easier for you to kick out that leg because they're really swinging. There he's just getting out of the way and coming back with that hook counter. See how it's just back and back in? He's not taking too much space. It's just enough to get out of the way. That hook is so pretty. This is actually a little bit like Karahat, right? So when he kicks past me, I'm then on the outside of his stance, and so when I hook him, he's going to fall over my leg like that. So see how he caught my teep, and then when he comes in, he's on the back side of my leg. So when he hooks, I'm going to fall over it. Like that. But if you hook, I went more straight. If you hook, that's what's going to knock him over. But see how the back of my leg is on the back of his leg? That makes it a foul. Don't do that. But if you go to the side of the leg, like that, you can do it. For that. I love how he throws in that reverse stuff. He's like, don't do that one. And there he's just coming to the outside for a trip behind. But look at how close he comes. He just like glides in. And there's a switch stance. Look at his shadow. That's how you can catch a teep. It's so pretty. See how symmetrical? He's parrying and catching all of those in shadow. He's like teep high. If someone teeps high, you can still just parry it or elbow it. Oh, it sucks. See how he's framed his upper body? It's in a frame, so he just moves for that elbow. Oh, that would hurt so bad. It's beautiful. His style is so demonstrative. It's like, it's so iconic and looks kind of Baran, but it's really practical. Like, you can do all of these things in the ring. So he invites this kid over to do these middle kicks. He likes to end sessions with this. And the way he teaches at his gym is he kind of has people go in rounds, like they switch out and all do things, which is really nice for the neighborhood kids, how they're doing this. But as an instructor, his kind of line in how he's become an instructor is really bringing the traditions of Muay Thai through. here he was teaching me how to use this hop in with a teep. I hop in to close in for the clinch. And look at him do it. The camera was low, but he just teeped this guy in the mouth. So the guy's like wiping his nose. He didn't actually touch him, but he's saying "Kalma," which means like he wants the guy to come in after him. So this is when someone's following you, but you can also track them with this hop in and then teep. See how I closed too tight and then I couldn't throw that teep? That teep should have been on the way in. This is just playing around though. Look how pretty his teep, man. His balance. His standing leg to his hip to his head is just all one perfect line with like a slight lean. Perfectly balanced. Trying to work on my step back and attack a little bit. So Ajahn was having the guy come towards him. I was basically tracking the guy. It's a little bit different. So here's the next session, which is a few months later. And so here, he's talking about that frame again. So he wants the arms and the hands to be strong to stop someone as they're coming in. So this is a pretty standard block on someone who's trying to knee you, but you have to be firm. You can't mushily guard someone. And then he wants the counter off of it. So I stop his knee, step down, and then knee him back. But see how he wants me to shove his upper body? That comes from framing my own upper body. So block and then counter. You can see how my arms are collapsing as he's pushing on them. It takes a while to get that kind of frame with the firmness that you need for it to work properly, but you just need people to put pressure on you so that you can make those adjustments. It's like how like balancing on a yoga ball or something, like you have to constantly make these small adjustments. That's what you're doing when people are putting pressure on your arms, is you're learning those tiny adjustments to be firm in the frame. So there he blocked my knee and then didn't bring his leg down and teeps. When I do it, I bring my foot down because my balance isn't right. But he wants me to not bring my foot down first. He says, "My long, don't bring it down first. Just teep." He's like, "Don't bring it down." He says it's too slow to bring it down first. But don't knock yourself backwards the way I'm doing. You need to have your weight is kind of forward a little bit, like pushing on him. It's because I'm not pushing back on him that's hard, and I'm falling backwards myself. So he wants me to get out of the way first. And then I can just kick him in the back, actually, instead of that front side. I like his gesture for time to kick the leg out. It's like this slashing. I hit him harder than I normally do, even though it was completely controlled, but I went too high again. See how I'm going to the inside of his knee? That's not right. He's showing me you have to go lower. That's no good. Look how low. And see how his foot is flexed so that he can just hook it? So there I cut across too far instead of close enough. So block first. Now he wants me to get out of the way. So again, this is like review, and this is months later, so I've been working on it more. And he's just making these small adjustments, but he basically is saying every day you work on this stuff to get used to it. That's the same as when he knees the thigh, but look at how straight he comes, so that he's basically walking through me. And he knees me as I'm falling, but the reason I'm falling is because he's come straight at me and his foot lands where my standing leg is. Just straight forward. Once, so that you're not plowing. One. Catch. Straight. So see how my leg is not coming to match his standing leg? That's why I'm not going through him. So here he's saying how strong you have to hold the leg, but then your arm needs to be really strong too. You can't be weak. His right arm being tight is why I can't grab him with my arm. So when people catch your leg, when your leg is caught, you can grab the person's neck or attack them like this. But he's saying you can only do that if the person who caught you is soft. So if you catch really tight and use a bar, like create a bar out of your arm, that framing that I'm talking about, then you can do that. So there's that block. Teep, don't bring it down first. So there you can see the variety of all the different things that are just immediate counters to a kicker. He's like, look how easy it is, all of these different things. So I'm asking him about opponents who like to kick the leg. And there you go. Just teep the kick. See how he just stops it? He's using the bottom of his foot kind of right by my knee. And my leg actually bounces back. And he's not putting power on it. Like he's using his leg to kind of stop it. This is how hard he's teeping. Right there, what he's doing on the pole. It's not a lot, it's just fast. The timing is more important than the power. So Parahat Lek is who he was fighting in that video at the beginning, and he's saying that when he fought Parahat Lek, he liked to kick his leg. So this is what Ajarn did as a counter. Just teep. Teep the leg, teep the body. Teep the leg, teep the body. But see how you have to keep your front leg kind of bent and light? You'll see a lot of Muay, they kind of like bounce their front foot. That's so that it's ready to come up as a teep to stop someone all the time or block. So look how you have to be really light and ready to move all the time. You can't be standing still and robocopping. So there, the bottom of my foot went just above his knee, and it stopped the trajectory right where it was, just like pop. Here he's going to put my foot right where he wants it. See how it's just above the knee on the thigh? He's saying it's the same as a teep to the body. It's like identical. You just change how high the foot is. He's saying every day. It's the kind of thing that you just like play with. But see how we're a little bit far apart? Like that's a long distance kick that you can shut down that way. If you're really, really close, just teep the standing leg instead of the kicking leg. Or the body. Or get out of the way. He likes that one too. So he wants me to punch. Look at how he brings his elbow in on that block. See how he doesn't have his hands tucked really close to his face? If you have your guard on your face, you let the elbows come too close. So he does this longer one. And then when you're already in the clinch, he's using the frame of his arms. It's like not like this. Be long. And then use the frame of your arms to shove the person off. Just create that space. He wants my arms to be stronger. He wants the frame from me. He loves to point out the scars on my face because in his 180 fights or something, he never ever got a stitch. It's perfect. So look how close. This is already in the clinch. That's exactly when someone would throw this kind of elbow. But he's using his arms. See the frame of his arms? And then he just shoves me off. And he kind of pops his own elbows up to throw me off. So see how he's trying to come over, but he can't because my hand is on his shoulder? And then if I pop my elbows up, he can't come over it. See how he's getting stuck? That's just from being firm in a frame and controlling from his shoulders and the insides of his arms. See what he's doing with his arms? That's how he's popping me off. Need my elbows up. And then I put my own butt back, which is why he didn't go. But if I stayed close to him, it would shove him back. So he's saying he can't come over because I'm controlling the shoulder. So there, see how he steps back in order to deliver those knees? If I try to block him, I'm on one leg, and you can do that. So, because I've blocked his knee, he knows I'm going to be on one leg, and that's how he times that. This one I had a hard time with. It's actually identical to the way he kicks out the standing leg on the kick, but because you're bringing your leg up first and you have to get that leg down and then come behind the body, I had a hard time with it. But watch him do it. So here, he's trying to explain to me, he wants me to do it, but I totally don't get it. My right leg needs to come behind his other standing leg. See how he comes around?
Step around.
Look at that. And his leg that he's tripping me with is so straight. And then you do the arm across the chest thing. It's like it's like when you're driving in the front seat and your mom like puts her arm across your chest because she stops too fast. That's what you do across someone's chest, and then you kind of push back as your straight leg goes behind their leg, and that's going to knock them over. See how I'm bending my body? It's not what you do. Watch what he's doing. See how he like swivels? He lands and then his whole body comes like as one piece, like whoop. Don't bend. Kind of. A little better.
It's the same as the leg kick.
Yeah, but coming off of this into this.
Yeah.
The block first, and then when you come down, deep swivel. It's like a soccer kick. See how he comes around? And then his leg is so straight. Boom. And see how he goes all the way behind me, like he's behind both of my legs. That was the correct distance, but I didn't go low enough. Again, I was kicking like behind his knees. You want to get behind the calves or on like the Achilles tendons. Look how deep. kind of. I love this. I love this so much. So this is, instead of tripping someone, you just get into their blind spot and start shoving them. How badass would that be in a fight? Just like shoving someone into the ropes. I'm better at that one. Because it's annoying. Gao means like to step forward. You gotta walk forward. Yes, like that. So here again, adding in that variety so that you're not doing the same thing every time, so the opponent doesn't know. I don't have that tension in my arms for the guard yet, that frame up. He wants more straight there, like you basically go through somebody. My leg should come down by his standing leg. So when I'm turning his knee, I have to bring my leg back. You have to pivot. Whoop. So there, gotta pop my elbows up. See how I'm putting my hips back when I'm trying to shove his upper body? If I kept my hips more neutral, I would have much more power in my upper body when I'm shoving him. But the symmetry of my step back is better than 8 months ago or whenever the first video was from this. So see how what he's working with me on is keeping this kind of neutral, I am not giving you any space thing, so that I'm constantly countering back at him. And then when he goes backwards, I can attack. There, I should be following him instead of falling back myself. Oh, look at his balance. Yes. He liked that one. He liked that one. So then I was going to ask him, I had just gotten cut by this lead elbow. And so I'm asking him about how to defend against this lead elbow where people just wait. These opponents just wait for me to come forward and they just throw that front elbow. And they miss a bunch of times, but then that one that gets in, I've been cut by a couple of times. So I had a hard time explaining to him that I was talking about don means like I'm the one who's being hurt by it. So see how he's building a frame on me? So my right arm is blocking so that his left arm can't grab me as well. And then my left arm should be straight forward on his shoulder to control his arm. But see how he's controlling me? He's hooking my arm with his right arm and then has a hook behind my head with his left. That's what he wants me to do. So as you come in, you're controlling both elbows by how tight his guard is around me. See how he's got a hook on my arm? So I can't left elbow. That's that front elbow that I'm being hit by.
But it's lead elbow. Lead elbow.
So Kevin keeps insisting that I'm being hit while people are waiting for me. So me coming in with this immediate hook does solve that problem, but that's not how they're getting caught.
You have to grab the arm.
But see how he's controlling my arm with his hook over? And then he can pull me around.
But Arjun, they wait like this.
So see, he's controlling my left arm. That's the lead elbow with his hand hooked into my elbow. And then he's trying to pull away. But if I keep hooking his arm, he can't pull away to throw that elbow.
ตัวใกล้ๆตรง
ใช่ต้องแพ้ต้อง
So he's saying as you're coming in, you build this frame immediately. Like on the way in, you hook
เข้าไม่ได้
to control the arms.
โอเคซิลวี่โดนเขาจับอาจารย์คือซิลวี่เหรอ
So he's saying, okay, so Sylvie has already caught.
Yeah, but it come when you turn. It come before you grab,
No, but it's on the journey.
but it's before you grab that they
So now Kevin is arguing that these people are throwing the elbow before I have the chance to grab them. It's as I'm coming in because they're going backwards, right? So this grab that he was showing is when they're either staying still or coming forward.
Control with your hands.
But if they're going backwards and you're coming in, see how he makes his arms longer? So you go long, 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 and then when you take the next step, that's when you hook the arms on the way in. He wants power in my arms because that's the frame that protects me. See how his arms are not, they're not tense. They just have tension in the right spots to create the frame.
ไปธรรมดา
He's like, be normal. But see how he's blocking that front elbow with his front arm, and then his back arm is bent in such a way that it's a secondary defense. See how our forearms are clashing because of how he has his frame.
วันหรือ
So he blocks first, and then he grabs me. Or you punch, and grab. Basically, on the way in, you create this interruption, and then look how close he gets to control my arms. Not like that. No loose Gumby arms. And then knee.